So here it is, to restore the Myford ML7, equipped with the Rocketronics Basic version 4, just conveniently mounted here, and at least a test stand, what I would call it, on the feet I made. The test stand is not really sturdy enough to use for regular use, but should suffice for tests here. And also with the on-off switch is better down here, like more normal use. I have then of course restored it, not just geometrically so that it should be within specs, but also then taking the time to paint whatever needed to be painted. And of course all parts are checked and verified to spec. I must say there is a lot of work behind what you see here. I'd estimate something like 100 to 150 hours, and there is also a lot of costs involved. Until now I have retained the use of the original screw here for the cross slide, but this is also going to be the subject to a modification with the metric screw and with using the resettable dial, just hoping to use the same as Myford has, namely division in hundreds, and in this case then with the metric system in 200s per division. To cut threads, of course, with the one-axis ELS here, I've put up a normal tool post and top slide to be able to set this to an angle. Otherwise I could just use and have also then for some tests use just a block post here, and also then experimented with different kind of tool holders, but finally settled on this very simple device here, clamp style tool holder, and the scraped and the system here allowed me then to just make some sort of common shim for all. So standardizing on 16mm tools, this fits now in here. This could of course be done in a number of ways, and for example just having this permanently mounted instead of for each time I swap the tool, but at least 16mm tools are nice. I think there is a good supply, prices are okay, and it's allowing me to use a little bit more sturdy tool. So I think this is okay, and now with this setup it's just a matter of clamping it down. The lathe itself is of course subject to a lot of let's say inspection before it comes as far as this. Let's say all from the prep and painting, I mean the de-rusting also, through every let's say part then inspected and restored, or in this case let's say for the bed round, and for the parts here scraped. The clasp nuts here are rethreaded and checked to the screw, also checked. Bushings here are replaced, these are checked. The bearings here are of course then scraped and aligned. You have new belts, and my let's say pulleys from the motor to the countershaft is a little bit different than I guess most ML7, so this gives me a top speed a little bit shy of 1100 RPM on the spindle when I have it at the highest speed here, just so that this is known. Thing with regards to the back gear system is either checked or replaced. On this one there is a replacement gear because this was of course brutalized, and as I said, a lot of hours behind this restoration. For example, like tailstock foot is scraped in and aligned. The barrel is checked, and the spindle here is also the same, checked, and everything is aligned to one another. I've added a hand wheel here. The motor, of course, checked. Bearings checked, replaced. So there is a lot behind such a restoration. It's a nice lathe. It's a hobby bench lathe, and of course there is a price to it all. So as it stands now, it's probably worth a lot more to me than what you can demand for such a lathe. It should then perform accurately, and I will try to do some tests here to prove this, both with and without back gear and with and without the ELS. I think I've got this also right now with this tool to knock out the centers and the different lathe tools up here. And since I have standardized on 16mm tooling and wanted to use the top slide also here, just to show at least, normally I use this like that. And you don't need many tools, I think. I mean, this can also double up as a left hand and right hand tool. This is of course a normal left hand. You have form tools, different types of angle for facing, and then of course threading tool. And this one needs an additional shim because I didn't make this one for an angle use. So then when setting up to do threading, of course at an angle, using the top slide to feed in, I need this additional shim. But that's, I think, hardly any problem. And then also I have a rear toolpost I just showed and fitted with a large boring bar, also then at height, ready to use. And this is all I think you need, or I need. Just a center, live center, and the drilling chuck, the keys here, and the lathe tools, extra set of jaws. Maybe, and then this spanner. So I think that's a neat and tidy setup.
Here you see my compilation of tool holder systems for the Myford. And the only quick change tooling I have are Norman patent tool holders. This is a homebrew design consisting of a cylindrical then boss, which you can mount directly onto the cross slide. And then these square blocks that are purpose made for different tooling. They are slitted, as you can see, and then you just pull them together over this boss with the Allen bolt in there. Very simple, functional. And then you have a set screw then for height adjustment. Different tooling, this one for, of course, a boring bar. Smaller versions also. These are just for me bought, so they are made probably by the maker and what they had available. And then the standard 4-way tool post, I think for up to 12mm tooling. Normally there is a, let's say, a indexing arrangement like on this one. These are also okay, I think. Either directly on the cross slide with this, let's say, built-up block, or of course on the cross slide plus top slide. And then you have your, let's say, clamp tool post, which I have adopted as my standard for the 16mm tooling. And then, of course, as I standardized on or have a room enough to use these bigger holders up to 16mm directly on the cross line and on the clamp tool post, I can also use this, which I called, you can set the tool height there, as you can see, directly, no need for shimming or anything else. And you have different tooling, in this case just a small, well, some kind of square tool. And then the ones that are normally used as rear tool posts, in this case a two-part design. You can turn this top part around to present different tooling. I've modified it so that it can be used as a front tool post also, and just for the 16mm tooling. Different versions, this one also for parting tool, and then I have a special one here which is for quick change tooling, really, with a separate tool post. And then this one, which is of course just a version of the normal, let's say, four-way tool post, a little bit smaller, fits directly on the cross slide of a Super 7 in the boss there. And then this is also probably homemade, at least it looks so to me.
I think with this kind of setup, you don't really need to bother with a quick change tool post.